Hello, this is Gerald van Was. Let me give you an example of how you can use the theory of positions in time and space to understand the characters of Chinese origin, and also with the sounds to it, because this is also about the positions of sounds, how the orientations of sounds work in our mind and in our setting, in our balance, in our yin and yang balance. It's the same thing. It is there in the letters and it works like that, and we use it like that. Why and how we use it is good for some other videos. This is how it works in practice, and this method helps me to understand and remember the letters and so on. And the 4 seasons for me are more difficult words to remember and to recognize, and here I will present you how this methods will help me to remember them well. I have here the last season, winter, or dōng, or dōng, and in the background I have here all the settings of all the possibilities of my yin and yang balance of letters, in which some are about stable positions in space, others letters are reference points in the timing, and others are adding context and are describing how you have a context and so on. It's all about communication and orientation, and in our communication of language we have some reference points that tells us, okay, but I explain it different because this is a different direction. Please go to in a different direction. We start from a certain position, and the words that we come to it, they are actually describe, okay, but the position is slightly different. It gives a description how to go to that new position. So it tells you what is needed to have a stable focus upon it, in which you sometimes have to make some changes, make some adaptations, or realize certain changes and timings and conditions. And now we are talking about dōng tian. So this character first. So how is the character built up? You have the first of the top character is the, let's say, the walking. It's a little like walking, but it's walking like it's changing. You go to somewhere, but you also adapt at the same time, because yeah, sometimes it's you switch, sometimes there's something else. So you add subtle adaptations in your steps. So you go step by step in your approach. That's what you do. You cautiously go forward and make new adaptations. That's what you do in this first character. The second character is actually almost like, yeah, this is the reflection of the leftovers. So it's in that position of winter. If you have the summer harvest, winter, then spring. So what comes towards spring are the leftovers first. This is the first at the end of the cycle. These are the remains. We actually walking on the remains, on the end effects of things. That's what the winter position is about. You can recognize that in that character. Now about the sounds. There's also sounds. You have the sound dōng. So we have positions in my system, and I will take them out and I will explain them what they are. But first I explain for the letter or the sound ng, which has no real position in this system, but it has a special position. And what always puzzled me during a long period in my life also, and a lot of people have trouble actually noticing the difference between yin and yang, and what is yin and what is yang. Yang and yin, where when it is ng, when it is n, even between n, you can hardly hear the difference, but there is a strong difference and a strong distinction between these things. The sound ng, the ng against n is that you have that extra G there in that sound, and that finalize always a cycle but also dominates this perspective from above, like from the G part. It's leading with strength. It's the light, or even the coloring, the light which brings forth the shadow. You do not have the opposite. You do not have a shadow that brings forth the light. No, the light brings forth the shadow. So what is going in is the shadows and so on. What, for instance, I found a bit confusing with the yin and yang is that when you color something and you make it full, the full on its own, it sounds a bit like yang, so it's go and so on. But on the other hand, when you make something full in colors, you almost like you use black quite easily. And that is confusing because that's also making something more yang and not yin. You see, it can be difficult. It's just about what is leading. If I color a figure with colors or even with paint, I make it full, I make it strong, I make it, and in that way it is dominating. It's that dominating factor which makes the while when it simply fits in and is dependent, it is like the shadow. And that's how you can remember these two sounds differences. So the in winter, so where do we have that? That is also there. So the shadows have in that way a leading domination, where it will gives us really certain results that we have to deal with. It's that gravity of that blackness, let's say. The gravity, the awe is that environment. It's that what it all brings us. That's how you have to understand it. It's that end reflection again. That extra reflection of also the darkness and of the things that work or do not work. We have to deal with it. The biggest reflection will, of course, that what works, what has gravity, or where we have to adapt. All these things matter in winter. So it's the absolute minimum requirements of the environment that can still be used and that have an after effect. So you go to the effect of what the things need. That's the dōng. I will also can show you the positions. The positions I have, the D, O and the N are in the timing, so it's all about timing. So you focus on really dependency in timing, and the G is the end effect will be the contextual effect that it will bring. With the extra arrows to it or directions, you have the D, which is the position, the spatial position that says, okay, I start a timing. O is I will go for the right moment, N I will take out the right moment, and this moment will make changes in the environment. That's how you can understand it. You place something in the time frame, you follow it up in the time process, and you follow it further up and take out what is useful for what in the environment can still bring a good effect in there. It's like a resonation in the end. That's that dōng, that's also like a sound. Dōng, it resonates in the end in winter. So you can understand it, and I hope this was also useful to get to know the Chinese script, also to get to know this theory of positions in time and space. Thanks again, bye.